Difficulty in games is often subjective, but I'm on a quest to find out how difficult some of my favorite game series actually are, objectively speaking. If you're new here, here's the idea. Life's gotten busier, gaming has gotten noisier, and live service games have turned keeping up into a second job with worse benefits. Meanwhile, a lot of single-player experiences that made me love games in the first place have been pushed further into the background. So I decided to go back to the series I grew up with and replay them with fresh eyes. Part nostalgia trip, part difficulty test, part excuse to stop pretending I want to grind daily challenges forever. This video is the start of the Halo series. So I recorded and noted every death I racked up while playing, and at the end of it all, I'll be able to say objectively which game in the series is hardest and why. Heading into the first game, in a new series, I was thinking it can't be that hard, right? You wouldn't want to turn people away from a new franchise, right? God, are you fucking kidding me, dude? Fuck. Fuck! Well now, maybe it's harder than I expected, but let's jump into it. Halo starts with panic, not wonder. The Covenant board the Pillar of Autumn, the ship is breaking apart, and the immediate goal is to get Cortana off the ship and survive the escape. It's a smart opening because the story says, stay simple and urgent. You're not here to absorb a giant lore lecture while the walls are on fire. You're here to move, fight, and keep humanity's very expensive green problem solver alive long enough to reach an escape pod. Before Halo becomes about ancient mysteries and galaxy-level stakes, it starts as a military retreat that has already gone very badly. This mission feels like Halo teaching the player its combat rules without ever pausing to wag a finger. The corridors are narrow, the fights are compact, and every room quietly asks whether you understand target priority yet. Grunts are there to build rhythm, jackals aren't here yet, but they make you think about angles, and elites arrive to explain that confidence is not the same thing as a plan. The pacing is straightforward, but it works because the level keeps introducing pressure in small, readable doses. You start to feel Halo's real identity almost immediately. This is not a shooter about sprinting forward and vacuuming bullets into everything that moves. It's about shields, positioning, weapon choices, and knowing when a room belongs to you versus when it doesn't. First mission kicked off with a death count of 11, so right away the series seems like it's going to be significantly harder than the BioShock series. Either way, this mission does its job by punishing any attempt to play like the assault rifle alone is a personality. Mission 2 is where Halo finally shows its hand. After crash landing on the ring, Chief steps out of the lifeboat and gets his first real look at Installation 04, with Cortana sending him to search for other survivors of the Pillar of Autumn. The mission is built around moving between scattered crash sites, helping stranded Marines hold off Covenant attacks, and surviving long enough for extraction. It's also the first real look of the on-the-ground ring as a place instead of just a backdrop, and that matters because Halo immediately stops feeling like a ship escape story and starts feeling like an adventure in a strange, beautiful, suspiciously well-maintained alien world. It's also the first level to introduce jackals and banshees, which is the game politely informing you that your day can get far worse, in fact. This mission feels like Halo opening up its lungs. After the tight corridors of the Pillar of Autumn, suddenly you're in wide valleys, driving a warthog, scanning the terrain, and picking fights across much bigger spaces. The pace is looser, but the combat still has a bite, because every rescue encounter turns into a little sandbox story about angles, cover, and whether your Marines are about to help or mostly just shout encouragement while missing everything important. The real magic is the sense of scale. Seeing the ring curve overhead is one of the moments that makes the whole game feel larger than its plot summary. It's peaceful for about 3 seconds, then Covenant arrive to ruin the scenery like extremely rude park rangers. I racked up 23 deaths here. The mission is broader and more chaotic, so it tests whether you can handle Halo when the training wheels come off and the battlefield gets a lot less polite. Mission 3, Truth and Reconciliation. Mission 3 is the first time Halo stops asking you to survive and starts asking you to hit back. After learning that Captain Keyes is Being held aboard a Covenant cruiser, Chief joins a night assault with a squad of Marines to rescue him before the Covenant can do anything worse than their usual hobby of shooting everyone on sight. The level begins as a stealthier insertion than anything the game has attempted so far, then turns into full boarding action once you are inside the ship. Story-wise, it matters because this is the first real counterattack by the humans, and it gives the campaign a shot of momentum. Instead of just picking through the wreckage of the Autumn, you're now taking the fight onto Covenant turf and proving that Chief is not just good at escaping disasters, he's also very good at delivering one. This mission feels like Halo tightening the screws. The nighttime opening is one of the game's best mood shifts, with the beach approach making everything feel quieter, more tactical, and just a little more dangerous. Once you board the ship, the level turns into a brutal series of corridor fights with elites, narrow sightlines, and plasma fires start piling pressure on fast. It is less open than the previous mission, but more intense because the combat spaces are tighter and every enemy resistance feels meaner. This is also where Halo starts trusting the player more. It expects you to understand shields, grenades, and weapon swapping by now, and if you don't, the Covenant are more than happy to provide remedial education at close range. I racked up 27 deaths here. This is the first mission that really feels like Halo saying, alright, enough sightseeing, show me what you've actually learned. This moves us into Mission 4, the Silent Cartographer. Mission 4 is where Halo stops feeling like a desperate survival story and starts feeling like a new, real military operation on alien ground. Chief and the Marines launch an assault on Covenant-held island in order to find the Silent Cartographer, a map room that can reveal the location of Halo's control room. The whole mission has a strong sense of purpose because you're not just rescuing survivors or reacting to disaster anymore. You are pushing forward with a clear objective and finally learning more about what the ring actually is. Story-wise, it's a big step because Halo starts moving from pure combat urgency into mystery. The ring is no longer just some pretty scenery with a body count, it's a structure with secrets, and naturally, every one of those secrets is guarded by a small army that seems deeply opposed to your research methods. This is one of the first missions where Halo fully clicks as a sandbox shooter. The beach landing is fantastic because it gives the level an immediate burst of scale, motion, and chaos. Then the island opens into a mix of outdoor skirmishes, warthog movement, and tighter indoor fights below ground. The contrast is what makes the mission so memorable. 1 minute, you're charging past gunfire in broad daylight. The next, you're clearing narrow corridors where one elite can subtly turn the room into a very bad life decision. The pacing stays sharp because the level keeps changing its shape without losing momentum. It feels adventurous, readable, confident, in a way that makes the whole game seem smarter and cooler at the same time. I racked up 22 deaths here. It feels right, the mission is fair, but asks you to handle both open vehicle chaos and tighter interior pressure without getting cocky in either one. Next up is Mission 5, Assault on the Control Room. Mission 5 is where Halo takes the mystery it has been building and wraps it inside one long, icy military grind. After locating the control room, Chief has to fight his way across a huge stretch of snowy canyons, bridges, and fortified Covenant positions to finally reach it. On paper, the objective is simple: get to the control room. In practice, the level turns that goal into a full day at the office for anyone wearing power armor. Story-wise, this mission matters because it pushes Chief deeper into the ring structure and keeps the campaign moving toward an answer about what Halo actually does. It also starts making the ring feel bigger and harsher. Up to this point, Halo has been dangerous. Here, it starts feeling committed. This mission feels like Halo deciding you've had enough fun and are now ready for employment. The scale is greater, with big snowy spaces, vehicle sections, and constant forward momentum, but the difficulty jumps hard because the Covenant are everywhere and they suddenly seem far more interested in ruining your plans with discipline and enthusiasm. Turrets lock down open areas, banshees harass you from above, and groups of elites start showing up like management heard productivity was slipping. The level can be thrilling when the combat sandbox is working and you're weaving between vehicles, chaos, and infantry fights. But it also starts flirting with repetition because the mission is so long and asks you to survive wave after wave of resistance. It is impressive, exhausting, and occasionally feels like Halo testing whether your confidence was based on skill or just good weather. Death count. I mentioned the difficulty spike, right? This level took nearly 2.5 hours for me to finish, and I racked up a whopping 60 deaths. That's more deaths in one mission than any of the BioShock games. This mission absolutely, stop being polite. The jump in difficulty is real. The numbers suggest a level that is memorable, partly because it keeps asking with increasing disrespect whether you are actually good at Halo. Part of the struggle was I got stuck in a loop where I hit a checkpoint with virtually no health and no med packs to alleviate the issue. This is also my first time playing the first Halo game, so I didn't know the mission route. And I got hard stuck in a spot that I could have actually skipped past, so retrospectively speaking, I could have performed better on this level, but oh well, the authentic first time playing experience is one of struggle. This moves us into Mission 6, 343 Guilty Spark. After the struggle session on Mission 5, Mission 6 is where Halo stops being a military sci-fi shooter and turns into a horror game that absolutely did not warn you before changing genres. After following a distress signal into a swamp, Chief is sent to investigate the disappearance of the Marine squad led by Captain Keyes. What starts as another rescue mission slowly unravels into something much worse as abandoned structures, scattered bodies, and panicked recordings reveal that the Covenant are no longer the biggest problem on the ring. Story-wise, this is one of the most important missions in the game because the game completely changes what Halo is about. Up to this point, the campaign has been about fighting the Covenant and unlocking the ring's secret. Here, Halo reveals the secret was basically, what if everything got much more terrible all at once? This mission feels tense in a totally different way than the earlier levels. The swamp is dark, claustrophobic, and miserable in exactly the right way, and pacing slows down just enough to make you suspicious before the game finally drops the flood on you like a piano from the ceiling. Once that happens, the combat gets messier, faster, and way more frantic than the cleaner Covenant fights. Enemies rush you, bodies pile up, and the whole level becomes about staying calm while the game works very hard to make sure you don't. It's one of Halo's best tonal swings because it does not just tell you the situation got worse. It makes you feel it in every hallway, every scream, and every movement, where you realize the shotgun is now your best friend. Thankfully, the Flood are way easier to handle, so only 3 deaths here, which makes up for the last mission. This mission is more about tension and shock rather than difficulty, so the danger sticks in your memory even if the body count doesn't. This gets us to Mission 7, the Library. Mission 7 is where Halo takes its new horror turn and doubles down on it with industrial determination. After meeting 343 Guilty Spark, Chief is sent into the library to retrieve the index, which is supposedly needed to activate Halo and stop the flood. Story-wise, this mission matters because it pushes Chief deeper into the ring's real purpose while also making Spark seem just helpful enough to trust and strange enough to absolutely not trust. The bigger shift is that the campaign is no longer about surviving the Covenant or uncovering the ring's mystery from a distance. You're now inside the machinery of Halo itself, doing a job for a floating light bulb who talks like he's never once been told that sounds like a terrible idea. The library feels like Halo testing how much flood combat you can enjoy before it becomes a spiritual endurance event. The atmosphere is strong with endless metallic halls, elevator stops, and waves of enemies pouring in from every direction, but the mission leans hard into repetition. Combat becomes a constant churn of backing up, blasting Flood at close range, throwing grenades into crowds, and trying not to get boxed in by enemies who clearly did not receive the memo about personal space. The shotgun does a lot of emotional heavy lifting here. So does patience. There is still tension because the Flood remain fast and messy, but the real challenge is the mission's length and sameness. It's memorable, but partly because it feels like being trapped inside the galaxy's most hostile office building. I racked up 26 deaths here. The mission is not just hard in the normal sense, it's draining, repetitive, and very willing to punish any lapse in attention. After we do that, we move into Mission 8, 2 Betrayals. Mission 8 is where Halo rips the floor out from under the entire campaign. After retrieving the index, Chief learns that activating Halo will not stop the flood, it will wipe out all sentient life that could feed them, which is a bit of a rough detail for Spark to leave out. Cortana yanks Chief off the activation path and sends him to shut down the ring by disabling the pulse generators. Story-wise, this is one of the game's biggest turning points because the mission reframes everything. The Covenant are no longer the only enemy, the Flood are spreading everywhere, and the helpful floating robot is now firmly in the absolutely not invited back category. 2 Betrayals feels like Halo taking a familiar level and mutating it into something meaner, busier, and much less polite. The mission reuses the structure of Assault on the control room, but now every fight is messier because Covenant, Flood, and Sentinels all crash into each other while you try and keep up. That makes the combat more dynamic, but also more exhausting because the level keeps throwing chaos at you from every angle. 1 second, you're trying to clear a path through elites and turrets. The next, the Flood show up like they heard there was free food. Then there's a cool sense of escalation in seeing old spaces transformed by the new war, but the mission is also a grind. A little less of a grind than the first time playing on this map, but it is exciting, repetitive, and unpredictable enough to keep you locked in even while it's clearly trying to ruin your afternoon. I racked up 35 deaths here. It tracks, and this is almost half as much as the first time playing this map. This mission raises the difficulty by turning familiar ground into a three-way disaster, which makes every encounter feel less controlled and a lot more rude, but clearly my skill at the game mechanics has increased, so it wasn't so bad. This gets us into Mission 9, Keys. Mission 9 sends Chief back towards the wreck of the Truth of Reconciliation to find Captain Keyes because Cortana needs his command authorization, or at this point, just his neural implants to access the Pillar of Autumn and turn the ship itself into Halo's worst day. What starts as a rescue mission quickly becomes a recovery mission once it's clear the Flood got to Keyes first. The ship matters a lot for the story because it gives the campaign one of the bleakest turns. Halo is no longer about preventing disaster before it happens. Disaster is already here. It's spreading. And now, even one of the game's few stable authority figures has been reduced to biological group project gone horribly wrong. Keyes feels nasty in a very deliberate way. The opening is chaotic, the ship is darker, and more ruined than before. The whole mission has the energy of walking back into a place you once understood, only to find it has become a haunted meat locker with terrible lighting. Combat is tense because the Covenant and Flood are still colliding, which means fights can break open in weird directions and ruin any cleanup path that you thought you had. The real weight of the mission comes from the mood, though. This is not heroic forward momentum, it's a grim cleanup. By the time you actually reach Keyes, the level lands one of the game's ugliest images and makes the cost of the Flood feel personal instead of just monstrous. I racked up 23 deaths here. It's not the hardest mission mechanically, but the darkness, chaos, and general everything is disgusting now pressure makes it very easy to lose control fast. This gets us to the end of the game, Mission 10, the Maw. Mission 10 brings Halo full circle by sending Chief back to the Pillar of Autumn for one last act of controlled catastrophe. With Halo's real purpose exposed and the ring being overrun by Covenant, Flood, and Sentinels, the plan is no longer to save the installation, it's to destroy it by overloading the Autumn's fusion reactors and escaping before the whole place comes apart. Story-wise, it's a great finale because it turns the game's opening setting into its ending battlefield. The ship that once represented retreat now becomes the weapon that lets Chief take the entire ring down with him, very much preferring not to still be on it when it happens. The Maw feels like Halo cashing out every strength it has left in the tank. Returning to the Autumn is instantly effective because the familiar ship now feels wrecked, infected, and far less interested in pretending things are under control. The combat has urgency, but the real star is the pacing. This mission understands that a finale should escalate, so it keeps pushing up from tense interior fights into legendary Warthog escape run. The last sequence is pure Halo magic. It's fast, messy, cinematic, and just unstable enough to make every jump feel like a brilliant plan made by someone who already accepted several bad outcomes. It's one of the few finales that actually feels like a payoff instead of a victory lap. This mission, I racked up 11 deaths. It's a strong finish. It suggests the mission is tough, but readable, with the danger coming more from pressure and speed than from cheap punishment. Big picture, Halo works because it keeps changing shape without losing its core identity. It starts as a clean military retreat, opens into a wide sandbox combat on the ring, turning into sci-fi horror the second the Flood show up. The combat loop is what holds all of it together. Heroic is the way devs intended the game to be played, and it's definitely a good challenge. No breezing through combat, shields create rhythm, weapon swapping actually matters, enemies are readable without being boring, and every fight feels like a small decision-making test instead of a firing range. Even when the game drags, the library absolutely clocks in like it's billing overtime. Halo still feels distinct because the mechanics are doing real work every second. What makes the game matter even more is that it builds the entire series blueprint in one shot. I wasn't in love with the story so much, but what can you expect from the first game in the series? The ring itself gives the world mystery, Cortana gives the story focus, and the mission structure keeps alternating between wonder, pressure, and outright panic. The campaign gets stronger as it goes because the stakes stop being abstract. By the end, you're not just fighting to survive, you're trying to stop a galaxy-scale disaster with a dead captain, a suspicious robot, and one increasingly overworked warthog. There is no previous Halo to compare to, which only makes the achievement bigger. This game had invented the tone, the rhythm, the sense of scale that the rest of the franchise would spend years refining. Final verdict: Halo is the foundation of the series, and still one of the strongest entries, a game whose combat sandbox atmosphere and pacing made Halo feel instantly iconic. All that said, how hard was it? Well, if you were keeping count, I racked up a total of 241 deaths. For those who watched my Bioshock series, that's over 6 times harder than the Bioshock games. But the real question is, how does it measure up to Halo 2? Drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you can tune in next week where we see how it measures up.
Halo, it's finished.
No, I think we're just getting started.